Hi, I'm Eileen.
I'm Katie.
I'm Allie.
I'm Jessica.
And we're Group 8. Our research study is on the impact of combining mirror therapy and task-oriented therapy on regain of function and occupational performance and satisfaction in persons with hemiparesis secondary to cerebrovascular accident.
In this presentation, we'll go over the purpose of our study, detail of our literature review, methodology, and results of our survey.
Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I'm going to be walking you through the introduction portion of our research poster. So we decided to do this research on cerebrovascular accidents because it is a common injury within the United States. CVA survivors may experience changes in their physical, cognitive, and emotional abilities, which can affect their ability to complete day-to-day tasks. Research has shown that mirror therapy and task-oriented therapy alone are helpful for those who have suffered from a stroke in their treatment and recovery process. However, mirror therapy alone may not support the focus of occupational therapy to provide occupation-based interventions. So since there is a lack of evidence-based research demonstrating the effect on occupational performance and satisfaction, we decided to combine the two intervention methods of mirror therapy and task-oriented therapy to hopefully increase gains in occupational performance and satisfaction while also being able to emphasize the importance of occupation-based interventions. Hi, so as you can see on our poster, prior research on mirror therapy and task-oriented therapy as individual treatments has shown an increase in occupational performance and engagement for those experiencing hemiparesis following a CVA. However, within our review of the literature, we did find that there's a gap and lack of evidence that focuses on the use of holistic and occupation-based interventions to drive the treatment and recovery process from a CVA. So within our research, we did find articles that did support the use of mirror therapy and task-oriented therapy. However, they were used as separate interventions. It did show that clients who had suffered a CVA did get better. However, there is still a gap in research that uses occupational therapy and occupation-based interventions as a form of treatment. So because of this, we decided to create our own hypothesis of combining the two methods, mirror therapy and task-oriented therapy, which have already proven to help recovery from a stroke. However, by combining these two interventions, we hope that we support a faster and better recovery for CVA survivors.
So for our methodology section, a Google survey was created to gain more background information regarding adults who have suffered from a CVA. It was conducted online through a provided link and would take about 5 to 10 minutes to complete. Written and verbal consent was gathered if clients fit our inclusion criteria and gave consent to participate. We used qualitative and quantitative analysis methods to examine open and closed-ended questions. There were a total of 16 open and closed-ended questions, but due to limitations, we only used 10 of those questions when drawing conclusions from the responses. Out of the 47 people who received the survey, only 37 completed it. Data was collected through multiple choice and free response questions. Quantitative data was analyzed via descriptive statistics, and qualitative data was analyzed using a coding system. We then used content analysis to derive meaning from these responses. The closed-ended questions in the survey required participants to answer from a variety of already identified answers, yielding quantitative data. To help summarize the data, we used descriptive statistics and found patterns by providing absolute numbers. We use percentages to show the distribution of age, sex, ethnicity, participants who have suffered from a stroke, participants currently receiving OT services, if they have previously received OT services, ability to follow directions, physical abilities, and perceptual deficits. To determine the distribution of time since the CVA, we used range. We then grouped and assigned values to the responses from the survey, which made it easier to analyze the categorized data. After collecting, analyzing, and recording the data, we compared it to information in current literature to determine if there were any statistically significant results or differences.
Hi. So in regards to our survey results, it was interesting to see what correlated with the literature and what was different. For instance, of the 37 participants who completed our survey, majority of them were female, over the age of 65, and racially identified as white. Current research parallels with these responses in that 55,000 more women than men experience strokes per year, and about 75% of all stroke victims are 65 years or older. However, it was interesting that majority of our participants identified as white because statistics report that minorities have a higher prevalence of CVA injuries, with African Americans being the most impacted ethnic group. Also conflicting with the literature, more than half of our participants reported that their strokes occurred within the last year, but less than half of them were receiving OT services. Furthermore, of the 13 participants who are receiving OT, report that they are going to OT for reasons unrelated to their CVA. In regards to problem areas, the majority of participants reported an inability to stand for 30 minutes or more, visual and perceptual deficits, and an inability to raise both arms above their head. This is consistent with the literature, because 80% of CVAs lead to hemiparesis, about 50% of CVAs lead to hemineglect, and 30% of CVAs lead to visual impairments.
After analyzing our survey results, limitations were identified. First, we based our questions around the inclusion and exclusion criteria for participation in our study. This is why we are only able to use data from 10 out of 16 questions. Additionally, our open-ended questions were not required to be answered. This resulted in only 10 out of the 37 participants submitting responses and further contributing to insignificant results. Had the survey been designed to address gaps in the literature, and if the open-ended questions were required to be answered, more substantial data may have been acquired. Additionally, the survey was conducted with a small sample size from San Diego County only. If the survey were sent to a larger sample and was available to more areas in the United States, the data collected may have been more significant to the CVA population as a whole. As a further analysis was conducted regarding the quality of the survey questions, it may have been prudent to refine and reword the questions to be clearer and to obtain more specific data. For example, when asking the participants if they were 65 years or older in age does not give sufficient information to correlate age in our data. Providing age ranges for the participants to select would enhance the data and allow comparisons to be made between age and the onset of CVA. Similarly, the survey was only inquired whether the participants have or are currently receiving OT services, but it did not include any other rehabilitative therapies. If the questions were to be rewarded to identify all rehabilitative services participants have or are receiving with a select all that apply option with all rehabilitative disciplines listed, more information regarding the recovery process could have been obtained. Overall, if researchers were to address these limitations, data from the survey may have been better addressed the gaps in the literature and therefore strengthened the significance of the research study and results. Lack of OT services may have impacted participants' recovery. Studies have shown rehabilitative therapy such as OT in the first year of recovery of CVA drastically improve chances to regain function and decrease chances of hospital readmittance. We want to utilize the current research of mirror therapy and add occupation-based treatment of task-oriented therapy to maximize stroke recovery. By combining these two methods, we hypothesize that there will be an increase of occupational performance and satisfaction due to emphasizing occupation-based interventions. We hope that these skills will transfer over to increase engagement and independence in daily tasks and activities.